There's no part of the canyon that doesn't appeal to me. I've hiked in the dark, I've hiked in the storms, I've hiked in the snow. I mean, I think it's all spectacular.
She's canyon crazy and proud of it. And you're sure to learn plenty of tips and tricks for your own adventure through her experiences. My name is Brian Special, and this is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Hey, the Rim2Rim packs are almost gone. Just a few left now at brightangeloutfitters.com. The Rim2Rim pack is the 22-liter unisex day pack designed through my own hundreds of miles below the rim. With its 6 front pockets to keep everything close and fully insulated hydration compartment to keep everything cold, it's easy to see why some are calling it backpack perfection. Get yours before they're gone. brightangeloutfitters.com. All right, well, what a treat this one is today. I've been aware of today's guest for a long time now, but we could never seem to connect. Well, it finally happened, and what a conversation we had. Honestly, sometimes I felt like I was interviewing myself, so, well, you could take that for whatever it's worth. Her name is Buffy Park. She's 48 and an elementary school PE teacher in the Phoenix area. And when it comes to, so what do you do for fun? The answer is she hikes. She hikes the Grand Canyon a lot. As in she tries to get up there at least monthly over the last 4 or 5 years. And these are big hikes, mostly Rim2Rivers and Rim2Rims, including the back-to-back Rim2Rims she did with a night in between on the North Rim just before our talk. If you're wondering what Canyon Obsessed looks like, well, you have found her. And by the way, she is very fast, one of the faster hikers I've ever heard of. So I thought it would benefit all of us to hear her story and pick her brain about all she's learned in what she thinks is around 100 adventures below the rim. And we'll also take on one of the burning questions that first-time Rim2Rimmers always have when they're planning their hike. Which direction should I go, north to south or south to north? So now, a treasure trove of actionable information from the one and only Buffy Park on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Okay, Buffy, just to start, elephant in the room here. My last name is special. Your first name is Buffy.
It is.
Is that a nickname or is that what you were born with?
So honestly, I always tell people, like, if it were a nickname, I would completely go by something different. It's on my birth certificate. It's always been my name. My mom's only explanation has always been that she wanted us to have unusual names because she didn't have an unusual name. But somehow my brother got Ryan, which is a very, very ridiculously common name, and I got Buffy. My parents actually said I could change it when I was 13, but I couldn't come up with anything really to change it to. I'm glad I've kept it. It's memorable. Like, people meet me and then they're like, "Oh, you're that Buffy." There's not 1,000 Buffys running around, so I'm Buffy.
And to us, you're Buffy of the Grand Canyon. I mean, dare I say Buffy the Canyon Slayer, right?
There you go. There you go.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, was that a part of your childhood?
It was. That came out when I was in high school. It drove me absolutely crazy. And I joke that that's what turned me as athletic and sporty as I went, because just the whole cheerleader thing was my anti.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense now. But you are definitely a Canyon Slayer, and you are prominent in the Facebook groups and in our Facebook group, and it's easy to see Buffy K. Park in there. So it is fair to say, Buffy, that you are truly Canyon obsessed. Just with your adventures, you seem to know everything. You seem to have done everything. What is it that launched this absolute obsession with the Grand Canyon?
It's the most ridiculous story. I mean, as far as like my outdoors love, that's always been there. I grew up in a family, like, I'm a native from Arizona. We always camped, we kayaked, we canoed. We were always in the outdoors. There's no nook or cranny in Arizona that I haven't explored, either as a kid or as an adult. And I love Arizona. But the canyon part of it is actually kind of hysterical, because I was up camping with two of my 3 children. And my son was in his mid to late teens, and my daughter was probably like 8. And they're sleeping in. So I tell them, I'm like, okay, well, tomorrow morning I'm going to get up really early. I'm going to hike. I promise I'll be back by lunchtime. I've never hiked in the canyon before. I have a JanSport backpack. There's a water outage, which at the time I had no idea what that meant, other than like I needed to carry water. I didn't even know that there was water available. I just was going to go for a hike. I stopped at the backcountry office. I was their absolute nightmare. I walked in, with my ridiculous pack and saying, hey, I'm going to do this little, what is it? You go down the South Kebab, I'm probably saying it wrong. And then I'm going to come back up this other trail because I looked at the map and that seems reasonable. And they're looking at me like, this lady's going to get pulled out with a helicopter in, 10 hours. And I told my son, like, have cereal for breakfast and I'll be back by lunchtime. I started at like 4 and I was out by 10:30 a.m. And I was absolutely obsessed from that moment on. I've never felt so big and small and accomplished. And I mean, it makes you feel so many different things on the end of the scopes because it's this massive undertaking, and yet like you do it. And so you feel like I can do everything, but then you also feel like this tiny little ant in this planet of enormity that I don't know, it just did something to me.
And what was that first hike? Was it a full Rim2River?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, I went to, I did a Rim River. I like the classic cowboy loop, South Kaibab, Phantom Ranch, and Upright Angel.
And you did that in 6.5 hours, which is an absurdly fast hiking time.
Yes. And I carried huge amounts of water that I even bought at the market because I didn't have any water bottles big enough to carry. I think I took 4 liters with me because they told me there was going to be no water.
That's weight.
Ridiculous.
How many hikes ago was that now?
So I wish that I would have kept track. And I remember back when I was in like the 30s, I was like, I really should write this down because I'm going to forget how many times I've done it. That was in 2019, and I hiked it probably 6 or 7 times that year. And then 2020 was where I knocked it out because for some silly reason, I just decided, hey, it's 2020. I decided I'm going to hike the canyon 20 times for 2020. And then COVID, and then it was shut down for months. And I hiked it 25 times that year. And I ended it with an R3, which I thought was a fun way to end it. And then ever since then, I've said I'm going to hike it at least once a month. But like fall, January, I mean, there's times where I watch the weather and I see they got, 3 fresh inches of snow overnight, and I'm in the car and I'm on my way because I want my footprints to be the first ones. So I'm hit or miss probably about 15 times a year, 15 to 18 times a year since then. So I think I'm getting close, over under about 100.
That's a serious commitment to do that many times a year. I mean, even though I think you live in the Phoenix area like I do, it's still a 3.5 hour drive. You still have life, so it's still a huge commitment to do it. So how do you make the time for it? How do you find the time for it?
It's kind of like my little weekend adventures. I'm a PE teacher by day, so I stay in the shape to do it. I never have to like, oh, I'm going to get in shape to do the canyon, obviously, if I'm doing it that much. But I've got it timed out and I know what I'm doing. It takes me 3 hours and 51 minutes with no traffic to get to the rim. I can beat out on a Friday after school. I can be there by almost sunset, depending on the time of the year. I car camp outside of Tucson. I hit it in the morning and then I drive back.
What do you think it is that makes you keep coming back? I mean, is it that what you said in the beginning about feeling so big and so small at the same time? Is it the scenery, the fact you're in one of the 7 natural wonders of the world? There's something that's pulling you back, or is it the physical part of it that's a big part of it as well?
It's a huge combination of all of those things. I know I genuinely enjoy the scenery. I love the physicality of it. There's nowhere else that you can knock out 17.2 to 24 miles fully supported in that hard of a hike. I mean, if you're talking about like going out to the backcountry or the supes, I love the superstitions. They're beautiful. But like then I'm back to carrying 4 liters of water and you're going into there's nobody out there. I hike a lot by myself because shockingly, there's not a lot of crazy people that want to go at the drop of a hat and hike 24 miles with me. So it's safe in that regard. There's people. You can buy a bagel halfway through. You can get a lemonade and a bagel and you didn't have to carry it. So it's all of that. There's been, many times over the years where I've needed to solve some kind of a problem or like life. And after 8 hours of thinking on the trail, like you get stuff figured out and at least you figure out what matters and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I think you represent, we always say hike your own hike. That's and I know you say that as well. You live by that mantra as well. I mean, that's the mantra of the show, of our group, everything. Hike your own hike. And you are an extraordinarily fast hiker. I don't think you necessarily do it for time. It seems like you get the best of all worlds, but there's so many people who will say, "Oh, well, if you're going so fast, you're not enjoying it." But it's not true. It's your own experience, right? Hike your own hike.
I completely agree with hike your own hike. I have answers to the one about like you're going so fast you don't enjoy it is that I dare somebody to tell me they've spent more hours in the canyon than I have this year. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
even if you're on like a 5 day backpacking trip, like I've probably spent more time on the trail. But it's really like it's what you want out of it. There's
Yeah.
times, there was a day that I went up there. I drove all the way up there. I hiked the chimney on South Kaibab. I wasn't feeling it. I hiked back out and I went to Flag and did something different. You know what I mean? Like you get out what you want. There's times where I'm feeling it. I actually don't look at my watch from the time I start until the time I'm done.
Oh,
And
wow.
it almost irritates me when I hear other people counting off mileage or saying what time it is or whatever. Because I just don't want to know. And I go by how I feel. Like sometimes I'm like, I feel fast or I feel strong or this isn't the day. I mean, I've taken naps. I remember a good nap I took on Tonto one time because I was exhausted. I laid down on a rock and took a nap in the shade. So there's been days that I've been fast. There's been days that I've hiked with friends that I've gone slow. There's days that I get really excited. I'll download a book and I'm like, I can't wait to get to the canyon to listen to this book. There's times
Yeah.
when I have no AirPods on. There's times when I'll listen to music. Like it's just there's no part of the canyon that doesn't appeal to me. I've hiked in the dark, I've hiked in the storms, I've hiked in the snow. I mean, I think it's all spectacular.
Okay, this is interesting to me because this is a great debate in the Grand Canyon hiking community. We have to have labels for things, and I know you just got back from what are we going to call it? You hiked from South Kaibab to North Kaibab. You spent the night, and then you hiked North Kaibab to Bright Angel the next day. So you
Right.
split. So you hiked a rim to rim to rim, or did you hike a 2 day rim to rim to rim? Or did you hike a what did you
I
call it?
So I specifically call it a back-to-back rim to rim
Yeah.
because so here's where I'm at. Like I'm back to the hike your own hike. I don't think that we're like proving that we're a better hiker or being a better person or I don't think there's one better way to do that canyon, but I do think that when you're communicating about the canyon, you have to convey what's going on. So where I run into trouble is if somebody says, "Hey, what should I pack on a rim to rim?" Like, if you don't tell me how long your rim to rim is going to take, I have absolutely no advice for you.
Yeah.
Is your rim to rim over 5 days? Is your rim to rim going to be from midnight to 8 a.m.? I have no idea. So you have to quantify it in some way. I don't think that quantifying it necessarily. I think among the community, it gives it like status levels, but I don't think it should. But I do think that we should be able to say, hey, I'm camping a rim to rim over 3 days, or I'm doing a 1 day rim to rim, or I'm doing an R3 with a night, in the lodge. Because certainly I've done the R3, the 1 day R3. It took me 17 and a half hours. It was my huge failure as a hiker, but I got over it. I actually had to call for help at tip off. It's a long story. But after doing a 1 day 17 and a half hour rim to rim, you know that there's a difference between sleeping in the lodge overnight in between them.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, the 1 day rim to rim to rim deserves its own
It's a
label,
suck
I
fest.
guess.
It's just,
It's not. It's not.
yeah,
It's not overly enjoyable at the end of
it's
a.
not, it's not, but I'm gearing up to do another one. So we'll see. I
So,
mean, it's one of those, yeah, I don't know.
well, you piqued my interest here. Obviously, the 17 and a half hour 1 day rim to rim to rim where you had to call at tip off. What in the world happened? And obviously, they didn't come and get you because you said you finished in 17 and a half hours. So what happened?
So, so what I'll tell you exactly what happened is I got way overconfident, which was due to my constant hiking the canyon. I had made plans to do an R3 with a friend, and a few weeks out, they backed out medically, whatever. They just didn't think that they were going to do it, and I was super bummed. And so then the weekend before we were going to, I was just like, I'm just going to go do it. I grabbed my pack, threw my stuff together, hauled up to Flag, and I started the next morning. And I hadn't, stuff had gotten out of my pack. I'd pilfered things to go, like I ride bikes too. So I didn't thoughtfully go through my stuff to be prepared for an R3. I got super overconfident in my ability to hike the canyon. So I got about halfway through the morning. So I started super early and I realized that my headlamp battery was going to die. I didn't have my backup. I didn't have a plug. I didn't have things that you need. And so then I thought through my head, well, I'll stop at Phantom. I'll get extra batteries. But then I got through Phantom before 8 o'clock. So they weren't open. So then I kept going. And then I said to myself, I was like, well, I'll just go have lunch at Ribbon Falls. This was in December of 2020. I was like, I'll just go to Ribbon Falls, have lunch, and then go back. That's one I've done before. That's 30 miles. That's a good chunk, but I'll get back before dark. And then I got to Ribbon Falls, and I realized that I just didn't want to risk getting my shoes wet because it was cold. And so I kept going, and I decided, well, I'll turn around at 8 hours. And then I made it to Cotton, and then I still had a lot of time left on my 8-hour timeline. And I made it to Manzanita, and I sat there and had a sandwich. And there were a couple other people there, and they were turning around. And at that point, I was like, why would you turn around when you're this far? Like, you're at Manzanita. So then I decided I'd push it. And so I got up to Coconina Overlook where you have signal, great phone signal in there. I always joke that you could download a video if you wanted to. And I checked in with my hiking buddy, and I said, I'm going to do it. And I got up to the North Rim, I turned around, and then I started coming back. And on the way back, somewhere between Cotton and Phantom, I realized I was really not going to have a light. My battery was just about dead, and it was getting dark. I had grabbed some ibuprofen. I remember I made a joke with some ladies at Cottonwood. I said, does anybody have any ibuprofen? I'll take some off your hands so you don't have to carry it out of the canyon, because my knees were just killing me at that point.
Had you forgotten that too?
I think I'd already gone through some. I don't remember. I wasn't prepared. That's the key here, is that I wasn't prepared. And so I got to Phantom, and this is where ego comes into play. And I think exhaustion, and, you're at that point, probably like 15 or probably 13 hours into this hike, exhausted. And I just, in my head, I was like, well, I'm going to take South Kaibab because it's shorter, which I could argue that forever. And I just need to get out of here. I didn't want to stop and look for anybody. It was past 8 o'clock. Like, there was nobody around at Phantom. And I just haul tail out of here. And I got about halfway to tip off, and my battery was dead, and my phone, I'd shut everything down, but my phone battery was at like 20%. So then I started using my phone, and then I would try, I'd turn off my phone just to see how much I could see. No moonlight, no nothing. I really couldn't see my hand in front of my face. I get to tip off, and I remembered that there's an emergency phone at tip off. I get to tip off. I pick up the emergency phone, and there was literally no noise, nothing. It was completely dead. That was the first time I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, because I kept thinking, I'll get there. I just need to let somebody know that I can't, physically I was fine, but I was starting to get cold because I was starting to worry about the phone and my light. And I'm just I'm just going to be in the dark. So then I'm like, well, at least I could, this is how bad it was. I'm pretty excited about the fact that I realized I could just hang out in the pit toilets at tip-off until morning, and then I'd be good. I never thought I was going to die in the canyon. I just knew I was going to have a terrible night, and I was already starting to have a terrible night. So the emergency phone doesn't work at all, but there's a note on the phone that says, if the phone doesn't work, which I still think is funny, if the phone doesn't work, try your signal because you can get signal. So I proceeded to try to call for help, not get the phone to work. There was a couple of calls to 911 that would get dropped. I did get a text message out. I could see it, how the bar creeps along and you're just oh my God, please send, please send, please send. So I got a text message out to my buddy. And then I finally got a call back from the Rangers, even though 911 had dropped me twice. But I had said where I was. So I got a call back from the Rangers, and they started talking me through the security box, the box of rescue supplies. And they gave me the 4-digit code for that. And I just remember not hearing anything but the 4-digit code. And then I just kept repeating that to myself. You know what I mean? Don't talk to me anymore. I just need to get into this box. So I got into the box, and this is where it gets sort of amusing, but not really. I get into the box. I find a headlamp. My phone still has a little bit of charge, so I'm still using my phone flashlight. And I set my phone on the edge of the box. It's like that giant ammo box, right? And I get the headlamp out and I'm shivering. It's December. I'm literally shivering. I'm in shorts because that's how I hike, but I've got my puffer, I've got a hat, I've got gloves, but I'm still like, by not moving now for probably 15 minutes, I'm freezing. So I grab the headlamp, and it has the headlamp and batteries separate. I get into the bathroom and I'm trying to put it together. Oh wait, but right before that, I tried to close the ammo box and it wouldn't close. And so then I just like slammed it, thinking that I just didn't have all the stuff back in there correctly. So I slam it hard and then the light goes out. And that was when I realized that it wouldn't shut because my phone was in it. And I broke my iPhone in half.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. So now my phone's broken in half. I have no light. I have batteries in one hand and I have a headlamp that I'm not familiar with. It's completely pitch black. I fiddle around with that. I finally get it to turn on and I hiked myself out of the canyon. And,
I'm going to guess that seeing that light come on had to be one of the most
oh my gosh,
amazing things you've ever seen.
It was. And I remember even like seeing the sign, the 3.8, the wood sign on the switchbacks up on South. And I was just so thankful. And when I got to my car, that was the other reason why I decided South Kaibab, because my car was parked at South Kaibab. Because I had intended on coming out Bright Angel, and then I had a room at Bright Angel. So I drove to the lodge. I turned the headlamp into the Bright Angel desk, which is what they said to do, and I went to bed. In hindsight, there's a lot of things I did right. Like somebody did know where I was. I knew the canyon, so even when I did get in the dark a little bit, like I knew where I was as far as the trail. Like once I hit those cobblestones right below tip off, like I knew where I was as far as on the trail. I kept my wits about me mostly. Physically, I was fine. I had food, I had water. I just, I'll never go out without 2 headlamps, that's for sure. I never go out without extra batteries. I never go out without a charger, because like there's that plug down at the rock house. I mean, you've learned things and you know things, but definitely I wish I would have gone up Bright Angel, because I could have gotten ranger help at Havasupai Gardens. I probably would have run into more people. I didn't see a single soul on the trail that day, at least once I had started having trouble. And I should have like literally checked my ego when I was at Phantom and gotten help when I knew I was going to need it.
The canyon will always humble you no matter what.
Yeah.
The canyon always wins. We say it all the time, but it's so relatable even to me about the overconfidence thing, because I feel like that still happens to me. As many times as you hike the canyon, it's almost like you think you're on autopilot when it comes to even the preparation for it with your pack. I swapped out packs in this last Rim2River that I did a few weeks ago. I swapped out my packs the night before, and I get to the South Kaibab trailhead and I realize that I don't have my ibuprofen. I don't have my electrolytes. I'm like, because I left it in the other pack. And you do little things like that, and it's like you get so mad at yourself. It's like, how many times have you done this? And you still make these mistakes? So double checking and making sure you have everything the night before, writing a list out on your phone, whatever the case may be. It is so important, because, like you said, when you get out there in the middle of the night, sometimes off season, December, you're probably not going to see anybody for miles and hours. So you are out there on your own, even though you are on the corridor trails. And during daylight hours, you're never alone for long. But in the middle of the night, it's a different story. What's your favorite hike in the canyon? The one that you just always want to come back to?
I love the Cowboy Loop, your South Kaibab, Phantom, Bright Angel. Maybe just for logistics, that's my favorite. It's probably the one that I've done the most, because, I mean, there's been even a few days that I've driven up, hiked that, and driven home in the same day. That's a long day, but
yeah.
I mean, I'll joke that I'm going to my favorite coffee shop, and I'll go down and have a cup of coffee at Phantom, and then I can hit Flag and have lunch with my son who's at NAU. I love coming up Bright Angel. I'll argue that all day. Some people don't love Bright Angel, but I think that view when you turn from Pipe Creek and you can see the entire vastness in front of you, that's one of my favorite all-time views. The Devil's Corkscrew I find almost amusingly fun at this point. But once you're done with that, I just feel like Bright Angel goes fast for me, because then you're Devil's Corkscrew, and then you've got that gorgeous, like it's probably my very favorite section of the canyon is after the turn towards Havasupai Gardens where it's all the rock and you're just like walking on that
Yeah.
slick. It's just gorgeous with the trees. Um, but I also really am in love with the North Rim too, so I don't know.
It's all good, isn't it? I mean,
It's
truly,
all good. It's
it's
truly
all
all good.
good.
And like Ribbon Falls, like, oh, there's so many people on the trail that I will talk into while they're on their hike. And I'm like, no, 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 no. No, no, no. Let's go. Let's go. And I've taken people. I've been like, there's been last year I was going, I did what I did this last weekend and I hiked over to the north and on my way to the north. I always prefer to go to Ribbon on my way to the north because then you can skip that asinine hill that I hate so much. Um, but then I was on my way back from the north the next day, and there was a group, and they were going to skip it because they just were worried about. And I get it, like if you've never done it, and whatever. And I was like, oh no, 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 we're going. And they're like, no, we don't want you to have to go. I'm like, no, 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 we're going. Like you have to see this. Like Ribbon Falls is amazing. Clear Creek Trail, I love the view from up there where you can get like your top view of Phantom, and I don't know, man, it's all good.
What do you think is the one piece of advice you would give to someone who's maybe thinking about hiking the canyon? They're starting to do the research. They're listening to the podcast. They're starting to put their plan together, training for it. When they get to the canyon, what is the one thing that you think they need to think about more than anything else? Is it the downhill? Is it
Um,
the uphill? Is it the miles on your feet? Is it nutrition? Is it what to pack? What do you think it is?
I think time on feet is a big one. I think that, knocking out elevation, but in, 10 miles isn't going to give you what you need as far as a training hike. Just time on your feet, like 20 miles is a lot. And I think that the more time on your feet, your feet are what are going to just hurt. And so then you're preventing blisters and you're ready for it. I truly think it's one third mental, one third physical, and one third logistics. I think
Hmm.
that's really truly like the the whole hike encompassed is like one third, one third, one third. You can overcome a lot of things with the other. I mean, I I think that if you're truly physically ready for the canyon, some of your gear doesn't matter as much. If you're not truly ready, then your gear matters more. And then I think logistics. I think we sometimes forget how difficult it is to get from one side to the other, or is food going to be open, or what's the weather going to be, or you know, where am I staying? And it's only open from this time to this time, and it's logistics are hard too.
Let's talk about the one thing that I think confounds people who are thinking about hiking the canyon. They're starting to do their research and they're trying to figure all this stuff out. You like to say that it's one third logistics, one third physical, and one third mental. I mean, you could even argue sometimes logistics could even be more than that because there's so much you have to figure out because you're hiking from one rim to another and you got to figure out how to get back, where to stay, all that stuff. Which way's harder for a first timer? Which way's the easy way? Which way's the preferred way? We hear those questions all the time. So as someone who has done it so many times, what's your preferred way? Is it to go north to south? Is it south to north? What do you prefer the most? Or more importantly, what would you recommend for a first timer? What would their perfect itinerary be?
I've always given the advice, honestly, that working through your logistics is going to be more important on your direction than anything else. I've never there's no hike that I've ever been on that gets me to the Colorado and out that I've been like, oh, that was easy. So it's not like you're gonna find the easier way. I know one of the really common things people say is that going north to south is less elevation climb, right? Because the
Mm-hmm.
north is 1,000 feet higher. But to that, I say you're gaining 1,500 feet of elevation between Phantom and Cottonwood, and that's like almost 7 miles. So if you were to go on a 7 mile hike that was 1,500 elevation, you would barely notice the elevation. It's over 7 miles. So it's not like you're truly climbing. I love the North Rim. It's more desolate. There's not as many people there, but that also makes it logistically harder. The season is short. May 15th is a hard date. Last year it wasn't even May 15th, but after October, you're not getting food. You don't have a lodge. So I think prime hiking season for me, I love November. I think November is awesome. Don't tell people that because then they'll show up. But
Too late.
the weather, right? I know the weather's
I
perfect.
love it so much.
Right?
It's perfection. It's perfection.
It's literally it's perfect. I also am absolutely in love with Jacob's Lake cookies, so that's always a hard one.
On the North Rim, yep.
Twice now, I've found wonderful trail angels, people that are coming in, and literally this is like random people that are just good people. And I found somebody that's going to be driving into the North Rim on the day that I'm going to stay there if I've hiked over, and I've had them deliver cookies to the lodge. I've had that twice, and just like people are amazing. So
no
I
Uber
do
Eats on
enjoy.
the North Rim, by the way.
No, there's
just in
no
case you're
Uber
wondering.
Eats.
No.
I don't even love the food on the North Rim. It's not fantastic. So ending on the south is logistically a lot easier because you've got so many different lodges and you've got the whole shuttle system. You know, you could easily get a room there and sleep and then take the shuttle back to your car if you need to. I do find it interesting. I'm not a huge stats person. I told you I don't look at my watch while I'm hiking, but after I'm hiking, when I look at my stats between the two hikes, so south to north is 21-ish miles. That took me 8 hours and 12 minutes this weekend. North to south is 24 miles. It took me 8 hours and 14 minutes, and then 9 hours and 12 minutes to get from north to south. But then when I looked further into my stats, my pace, this is hysterical, 23.26 on south to north. That's the average pace time. And north to south, I was 23.27, literally 1 second difference.
Wow.
Yeah. And then even like I don't believe in the fitness trackers as far as being like accurate, but I do think it's consistent. I can look at my stats over, my morning bike ride commute. They're very consistent whether accurate or not. But it gave me total calories for south to north at 3,496. And then north to south, even though it took me an hour longer, 3,584. So like a difference of 90 calories over an hour. But the tell to me was my average heart rate south to north was 125, and my average heart rate north to south was 108. So it takes you longer because it's 2 miles longer. But I think it's an easier, like if you really want to find easier, but I'm telling you, like you don't get out of there and be like, wow, that was easy.
No, never.
So I'm back to logistics. I'm really truly back to like you figure out what works for you and your group and where you're coming from. If you're flying into
Where you
Vegas,
want to finish.
And what time of year it is, and do you have a driver? Like that's a big difference. If you have a driver that's willing to, shuttle you back and forth, or are you taking the shuttle?
Yeah, the one thing that you have to know is that it is a 4.5-hour drive from the South Rim to the North Rim, even though it's only 10 miles as the crow flies straight across and 21 miles hiking at the shortest distance. So it's a 4.5-hour drive. So that tells you right there the logistics.
Have you joined the club? Our Rim2Rim Hiking Club 2024 t-shirts are now available at brightangeloutfitters.com. Super soft, super stretchy, and made so you can celebrate your once-in-a-lifetime accomplishment. The Rim2Rim Hiking Club t-shirt, part of an entire Rim2Rim collection of tees, hoodies, and sweatshirts, available only at brightangeloutfitters.com. Sales directly support this show. Again, that's brightangeloutfitters.com.
So let's break this down a little bit, Buffy. Let's talk about first going from north to south. So if you're going north to south, you've got to park your car on the south side, and you've got to get yourself, if you have a driver, around to the north side, or take the Trans-Canyon shuttle around to the north side, and then you're going to hike back to your car. What do people need to be aware of for something like that, especially with the limited season of Rim2Rim season, which is only May 15th to October 15th, because outside of those dates, the North Rim services, lodging, food, everything is closed.
So one of the things that you really like, especially if you're self-supported, so assume you don't have a driver, which I don't, a lot of people don't have a driver willing to just keep driving from rim to rim. So then you're talking about a couple of days to do it, because by the time you've dropped your car at the South Rim, you're relying on the schedule of the shuttle, right? So from the South Rim, you'd take the 8 a.m. shuttle. So you got to be there by 8, and then you take the shuttle and you get there at 12. Now, I have taken the shuttle and started at 12, but you better have the right weather for that. It's going to have to be well into late October. You don't want to be starting a hike at noon. So then you've got a night at the North Rim, which is hard to come by, because there's only one lodge there. And then you got the 2 miles between the lodge and the trailhead, which really trips up a lot of people. Sometimes they run the shuttle, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you can get lucky by trail angels. Sometimes you get picked up by a park ranger. That happened to me this weekend. I do completely recommend always hiking to either your car or a hotel reservation. And if your hotel reservation is on the south, it's a lot easier because you can, pretty much walk into your hotel. There's plenty of people that get out on the north and realize they've got a 2-mile walk to their lodge. I would never recommend, I've seen people do it on the trail, trying to make it for the shuttle that leaves at 2 o'clock on the north if you're going from south to north. And that's just a whole ball of problems right there. You asked me earlier about the one thing that I would want people to recognize if they were looking to bite this off. And I think it's that you have to be flexible. I think flexibility is the key. You have absolutely no idea how long this is going to take you. I don't care how many hikes you've done and what you think you hike mileage wise or how you're going to feel. If you've never done the canyon, you have absolutely no idea how you're going to respond to it. So being flexible, I think, is huge. Having plan B and C and D sometimes is key.
And when you get to the North Rim, super important, in my opinion, to take your time and enjoy the North Rim before your hike, because you don't want to just get there, unless you've been there before, you don't want to just get there and start, right? Get off the shuttle and get on the trail, because there's so much to see. You've got a 100-and-some-year-old hotel to go see, and all the views around the lodge, and it's just a completely different vibe on the North Rim. It's like it's stuck in time 100 years ago. You want to go and enjoy that. Have lunch in the lodge, where you've got the most majestic views of the canyon like you see nowhere else, and just, enjoy your time there. Take your time. You don't want to just get there and start. So I would completely recommend people do that. But when you do finally start and you've figured out your logistics, maybe you spent the night at the lodge, you spent the night at Kaibab Lodge, let's say, and then you took the shuttle in the morning, or you're at Jacob Lake Inn and you take the shuttle in the morning. Those are your three options for lodging. It's Jacob Lake Inn, which is 45 miles away, Kaibab Lodge, which is about 12 miles away, and then Grand Canyon Lodge, which is on the only hotel that's actually on the North Rim. That's option number one, but very difficult to get reservations. But enjoy the North Rim. But when you get to the trailhead the next day, okay, now you've got serious business ahead of you. And like you said, Buffy, unless you've hiked the canyon, you don't know how you're going to react to it, because you've never hiked downhill for as long as you're going to hike downhill before you hike uphill. That sounds easy. It's going to feel easy. Maybe you're going to get going too fast and you're going to pay the price for it later. You just don't realize it. But the hike itself, 5,780 feet over 14 miles from the top of the North Rim, the North Kaibab Trailhead, all the way to the river. What is that hike like? And that, folks, 14 miles, 5,780 feet of downhill, that's before you even start climbing. That's even before the serious business begins, and you can wipe yourself out if you're doing this all in one day. What is that downhill like?
Well, I think that's one of the things that's grossly underestimated, is that what that's going to do to your quads, what that's going to do to your knees. You see people start off with their runs and they sure, you can run downhill, but your quads are just blown by the time you turn that and you start to climb up. The North Rim is definitely not a flat surface to hike on. That's the other thing, is you're talking about huge ruts and rocks, and it's sandy for quite some time. But you have the views. I always do feel I just want to tell people to keep an extra day or whatever. Like if they're going to go check in at Kaibab and then start in the dark, and I'm like, you've completely missed the boat on this. Like, the North Rim is amazing. But once you get into it, you really realize you're not going to move as fast as you think you are because of the trail. And it's not bad conditions. It's just like, it is rutted out and it is sandy, and a fall is going to take you out of this thing. You turn an ankle a mile in, and, poles are absolutely, my saving grace are poles. I was a hold off for a long time. I thought they were going to make me feel old and, like, who needs a cane? But like the first time I used poles and my traps were sore, I was like, this is amazing. Like, I'm using my upper body to make me go better and faster and stronger. And then the number of times it's kept me from falling. I think one of the keys too is to it kind of, even if it's like on a trail map or you check off the spots where you're going to be. So, in my head, even though I'm not looking at my watch and looking at my mileage, I know where Coconino is. I know where Redwall Bridge is. You know the stuff that you're going to come upon when you come upon it, and then how you're going to go.
And that helps break the hike into more manageable chunks as well, rather than just 14 whole miles. Yeah.
Exactly. You're like, I got this far to this spot, this far to this spot, and then just taking it all in. I mean, I wish I could go back and do my first hike all over again. I did half of it in the dark, and I did it with a timeline because I had to get back to my kids. But like the awness of it, and the to be the first time in the canyon and take it all in, it would be cool to be able to do that again. I mean, I don't mind that I'm familiar with it, but it's, I do enjoy taking people who haven't been before, because then you get to see it again through their eyes, like you were seeing it the first time. And I think that's super awesome. I like the North Rim because it's not terribly busy, but you won't move as fast as you think you're gonna, especially if you're starting in the dark, which we have to most of the time because of the weather. Throughout the summer, you're starting dark 30.
Yeah, that's the thing about Grand Canyon hiking and Rim2Rim season that is, I don't know quite how to describe it, but it's kind of annoying. It's kind of disappointing. Disappointing is the word. It's disappointing because you want people to enjoy the canyon and you want them to be able to complete this hike in the daylight. But the reality of Rim2Rim season is it's May 15th to October 15th. And you can make the argument that it can be too hot to enjoy yourself in the canyon from May 15th to October 15th. It can be too hot at the bottom. And so that's why Buffy and I like to talk about November, when the weather's finally going to be good and you can enjoy it no matter what. So it's unfortunate that sometimes you do have to choose, if you're going to hike in late May, June, all the way through September. Sometimes you have to start in the dark, because otherwise you're going to be out in that direct sun and it's going to be beating the daylights out of you and taking everything out of you. But back to the hike. So it's amazing coming down North Kaibab. I mean, the Eye of the Needle, and you get into Manzanita, and then you get into Cottonwood. You got Bright Angel Creek running alongside you through the box all the way to Phantom Ranch.
And the bridges. I love all the bridges. Yeah. Like, all the bridges are so beautiful. Like, and I think it's just how they stand out against nature. I mean, there's a lot of them that are really pretty wood, but they're still iron, and they're just, I absolutely love the bridges, and you hit so many of them on the North Rim.
And you can take your time when you are going to go north to south and you've got your hotel waiting for you.
Yep.
Not a good idea to finish the hike, because you don't know how long it's going to take you, as Buffy said over and over again. You don't want to finish the hike necessarily and then have to drive somewhere. The best case scenario, as far as the farthest place you would want to drive is Tucson, which is just, right outside the gate. But if you have a hotel that you can walk to at the end of your north to south, rim to rim, that's ideal. Because let me tell you something, folks. We've talked about going down the 14 miles to the river. Okay, now you're going to go up Bright Angel. Now you're going to climb 4,400 feet, over 10 miles to the rim. So what is that hike like? And you actually enjoy Bright Angel, you said, which is awesome. So tell us about it.
I love Bright Angel. I love to climb. I honestly love to climb. Like, that's where I just get my grind in. I have one
especially after going downhill for so long, right?
Yeah. So the sandy portion that you get after you've crossed Silver Bridge, which I love Silver Bridge, right? But
overrated.
I think that's
It's overrated. Yes.
I've tried to clock it before, and I swear it's like 0.2 of a mile. Like, and then you hit some solid part. It's really not that bad. People complain about that. And
and when you're in those sandy sections of Bright Angel, which is right after, it's technically the river trail, which is right after Silver Bridge. And people talk about like you're walking through quicksand or you're walking across a beach. There are sections for 100 yards or so at a couple of different junctures where there is sand. But I've always found if you just stay off to the side and don't walk right down the middle of the sand, yes, you can get around it. It's overrated. Don't let that scare you. Anyway, I digress. I've got a whole YouTube video just on this subject, by the way, because it drives me nuts. Overrated.
I remember also being really thankful one time when I was hiking out in the rain, because I was like, ooh, that sandy part was like so wet. It was solid.
Packed down. Yeah.
I love turning the corner at Pipe Creek. I always stop there. I'll either filter some water.
So at River Rest House you're talking about?
Yeah, people
Okay.
need to get over the whole like either it's a fear or a discomfort of filtering water. Filtering water on the canyon is the most amazing thing in the world. You got water like three-quarters of the trail. Like carry a filter, use your filter. You don't have to carry, 10 pounds of water. You don't
Hmm.
have to worry about if the water's on. So, anyways, I always filter right there. I sometimes dump my shoes out right there. There's like a nice little rock where you can sit right past the pit toilet. And then that's the view that I was talking about earlier is you can see the whole expanse of the canyon and you're like, that's what I'm going to do. Like you see the rim, you see how crazy it is what you're just about to undertake. And then I get like almost excited for, you've got like a couple creeks to cross and then you're getting to the Devil's Corkscrew. And the Devil's Corkscrew is where I just get in it because I know it's that whole idea of checking off the sections. Like I get
Yeah.
Devil's Corkscrew and then I'm always telling people that you got to stop right there at the top. Once you've gotten to the Devil's Corkscrew and you go around that long, long pass, you pass
Yes.
the little water part. You have to stop at that corner and look back because it's the perfect
Yes.
view of all those switchbacks.
It's a perfect photo op.
I have another funny story for you. You know that section where there's the trees where it's always really wet right before
Yeah.
on the top of Devil's Corkscrew, on the very, very
Okay.
top, there's that
Yep.
little section. It's 100% mule mess. So I'm always trying to like rock hop and try to stay out of the mud. And this is like a spring, so it's super wet and super gross. And I just step on a rock while I'm trying to avoid the whole thing and I bail on my back in that thing. It
Beautiful.
was it was awful. But yeah, so then I walked up to the creek. But you know all those points. So once you're up the Devil's Corkscrew, like I feel like that's a super tough section. You've checked it off, you're good. And then it gets gorgeous and you see all the trees that are in Havasupai Gardens.
And it levels out a
And
little bit after Devil's Corkscrew. It's not like
yeah,
that
it
significant climb.
no. No, it totally levels out. And it's just gorgeous. It's a different because of all the water, because of the creek, and I could walk along a creek forever. I mean, the sound of it is so amazing. That's where I always see deer. If it's not in Phantom, that's where I see the deer. And then like I was saying, that section, I don't know if it's got a name, but where it's just all that slick rock and you've got it coming up and over you. It starts to get shaded for a while. And then I feel like it's a short section to get to Havasupai Gardens, and then you've just got like three more little chunks to go.
Yeah, yeah, just three more little chunks.
Just
You
three
stand in
little chunks.
just a little bit of climbing to do there. You get to Havasupai Gardens. You got 4.5 miles to the rim. Then you kind of meander for a little bit out of Havasupai Gardens for probably 3/4 of a mile or so before you really start to
Yep.
climb again.
You get a little bit of a break.
Videos, podcasts, an ebook, and the Grand Canyon Shade Tracker. Be sure to check out all our completely free resources at brightangeloutfitters.com. Bright Angel Outfitters was born out of a love for the Grand Canyon and exists to help you hike your best hike. Find it all at brightangeloutfitters.com.
And then you've got that climb to 3 Mile Rest House, which is your next target, which it gets pretty steep before the 3 Mile Rest House. You have what's called Jacob's Ladder in there, a set of switchbacks. And then suddenly there's 3 Mile Rest House. And then, Buffy, people always talk about the last 3 miles of Bright Angel. And I will tell you, I will put the last 3 miles of Bright Angel in terms of difficulty and grinding, and you're going to feel it. I'd put that up against anything on the notorious South Kaibab. It is just as difficult as anything on South Kaibab or North Kaibab, in my opinion, in terms of climbing the last 3 miles. What do you think?
I loathe climbing out South Kaibab. I tried to learn to love it last year when Bright Angel was closed. I think the steps are higher. I don't think climbing out Bright Angel is easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't love the hype of the steps on South Kaibab. I know that's how all the Phantom Ranch people get out, and I know that they do it way more, but I still hate that hike to go out. Bright Angel to me is a little bit more slopey. I feel like even like the water, the rocks that are there for the water wash or whatever, they're not as high. You're not taking as high of steps. But yeah, it's a grind, but you also can see your points. So I think that's helpful. Like when you're going up towards 3 Mile, like you can see it well in advance. So it almost feels like it's closer than it is to me. Or maybe that would make it for, I don't know, for somebody that was just doing it, it might feel further. I don't know. I like that once I can see it, I'm like, oh, it's right there. I just got to do this, back and forth stuff. And then I'm there. Also, Brian, you got to know I'm super lazy. Like I really won't walk all the way over to 3 Mile to get water because I feel like it's going the wrong direction. What, like 50 feet?
You also have to go way up there to get to the pit toilets.
Yes,
at 3 Mile. It's like a hike to get to the pit toilets at 3 Mile. It's so annoying. It is so annoying. So
same thing with the toilets at one and a half. Like they're the wrong way. I don't want to go that way.
They're way out of the way.
Yeah, way out of the way. But like, yeah, you get to 3. I don't know. I just like you chunk it off. But I think that I think from Havasu by Gardens to 1.5 is harder than from 3 to the trailhead. I always feel like from 1.5 to the trailhead isn't that bad.
But it's technically the steepest. If you do the numbers, it is the steepest.
Because you've got that little section. You got that little section before you get to the tunnel. But then past the tunnel, you're kind of like, I don't know.
Well, then the adrenaline kicks in again because you're almost
done. That's what it is. That's what.
Yeah.
And then you have more, like you have all the people, which I know some people don't love, but I like to see the wonderment on fresh faces.
Same. Couldn't
I
agree more.
I enjoy Bright Angel. I enjoy going up there. I enjoy seeing the people that are in their their vans and their water bottles and a mile into the canyon is a mile into the canyon, and their faces, and especially like the international travelers, like. I love, and I talk to kids. I'm a PE teacher. I think I don't know if I said that, but I'm a PE teacher. I teach elementary PE. I love kids. And when I see kids in the canyon and their faces, and I'll always talk to like, is it what you thought it was? Like, is it bigger? Is it smaller? Like, what do you think? I like to see that. I like the crowds on Bright Angel.
The beautiful thing, if you're hiking up Bright Angel for the first time, and it's going to be difficult, there's no question about that, but it almost just serendipitously worked out that you can break from Havasupai Gardens to the top, you can break it into 1.5 mile chunks, and that makes it so much more manageable. Havasupai Gardens, 4.5 miles from the top. 3 Mile Rest House, 1.5 miles away, 3 miles to the top. 1.5 mile Rest House, 1.5 miles away from there, 1.5 miles to the top, right?
Yep.
And then you get to the lower tunnel, and you're basically at exactly 1 mile to the top, and then you're just cruising, and you're seeing all the tourists and everything. And to that point, you see a lot of complaints about, people don't understand trail etiquette. And when you start smelling the cologne, you're getting close. I mean, that stuff is all true, but just beware that it's going to happen. So pack your patience. And like you said, embrace it. Take in the energy that people are giving to you by the look of wonder on their faces. They're at the Grand Canyon for the first time. Enjoy all the foreign languages that you're going to hear going past you for that last mile or so, And if they don't get out of your way, so be it. Just enjoy it. Know that it's going to happen, and just embrace the journey, because I agree with what you're saying. It can give you energy if you just channel it the correct way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're electric because they're seeing something that's super cool, and I think it gives me a chance to relook at the canyon from their eyes, and I get that rejuvenated, like, this is awesome what I'm doing. And I completely agree with you with the 1.5. Like in my head, I'll even be like 1.5. Like I'll pick a hike that's 1.5 miles. What's Camelback? 1.2. I'm like, dude, how many times have you done Camelback? Like 1.5 miles is nothing. And you just pick it off one section at a time.
Yeah.
Little bites, not big bites.
Little bites all add up to a big bite. And then you finish, you get to the top, and suddenly at the top of Bright Angel, it can be almost jarring about how you go from, being out in the wilderness by yourself and hiking on a nice trail, maintained trail for a lot of it. But then suddenly you step onto blacktop, and there's people everywhere if it's in daylight hours. Yeah. And they could not care less what you have just accomplished, right? They are just trying to figure out what they're going to do and what they're going to see. You're in Tourist Central. But again, enjoy the energy of it. Now you're done. Just like that. It's very abrupt. But now you can just walk to your hotel, right? You have some other. What's your tradition when you finish at Bright Angel?
So I used to walk to Mastwick for a diet for a Coke Zero, and then I found one time in the back of the Bright Angel Lodge gift shop they have a refrigerator.
Yeah.
Because come have a soup by Gardens. I'm like, you are like 2.5 hours from a Coke Zero. And so that's the closest place. And it's funny because I always like stand there in front of the fridge and I grab one and then I'm like, dude, you know yourself. And then I grab two and then I check out. And I got one done before I get to the car. So yeah, that's my go-to there. And then it was a couple years ago. They used to have a little beverage cart. The guy actually knew me. He'd be like, "Oh, did you just hike again?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I did." Funny story about the whole hiking at Bright Angel. I can remember, and I still almost feel bad that I was rude. And I don't know that I was necessarily rude, but I was on the literal last turn where you're what, 50 feet from the trailhead and somebody asked me to take their family photo, and I was like, "I'm sorry, I got like
You refused them.
I
Did you
did.
really? Oh,
I was like, well, because
Buffy.
I was 50 feet from the trailhead, and I was just like, I can't stop right now. Like, I got 20 miles on my legs. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Ask anyone. There's hundreds of people.
They've
But I
probably
can't,
never forgotten you, Buffy.
no, that lady was so rude. That hiking lady is so rude. I've stopped for 100 other people, so we're all good. The karma works out. But I didn't think there. It was, oh, Brian, it was like 50 feet from the trail. I would have finished and come back and taken their picture if they would have waited 30 seconds for me. But yeah, no, at that point I was done. I was all done.
Well, to that point, there is a point that we all reach. I don't care how many times you've done the canyon. There is a point that you reach when you are hiking out when it's like, okay, I'm done. It's time to get out of here. It's time to be done. So
Yeah.
when that happens, embrace that too, right?
Yes, which is why I go back to why hiking south to north is sometimes difficult because you get to the north trailhead and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm done. You know, I did it. Oh, thank goodness. Like you're exhausted. You're like, you hit the trailhead, big sigh. And then you're like, and now I got to get 2 miles to the lodge.
Nothing quite like that 2-mile walk at the end of a rim to rim, right?
No,
Oh.
no.
That is part 1 of my conversation with Buffy Park. Next time, in part 2, we'll talk about the pros and cons of going south to north. I think you'll ultimately see there's no right or wrong answer here. Just pick the way that appeals to you and build your plan around it. You'll find Buffy and most who have been guests on the show on our Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group. We hope you'll join that, and we hope you will participate as well. We love helping folks have their best possible experience in the canyon, including reading success stories and about all they've learned, both good and bad. Whatever it is, we have got a whole community there to help and support you in your journey. So please join today. Just search for the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show on Facebook, and you will be in. All right, well, Coach Arnie hangs out in that group, of course, and today our personal exercise physiologist is here to talk about your calves.
Hey guys, this is Coach Arnie with another Grand Canyon tip of the week. And once again, I want to thank Brian for allowing me to share some wisdom with everybody. And today's tip is about saving our calves. Those are those large muscles on the lower part of your leg, the back side there. You have the gastrocnemius, the soleus, and then down into your Achilles tendon, and then underneath your foot. But here's the key. In order for those muscles to function better, you need to develop the muscle on the front part of your lower leg called the anterior tibialis, which has a tendon that actually goes underneath your foot from the inside underneath. So it goes down your leg and under the arch of your foot to support your foot. And when you develop that anterior tibialis, it takes all the pressure, and I mean all the pressure off your calves. So those of you that are getting calf soreness and calf tightness and calf cramping, it's usually because you have weak anterior tibialis, and that's most people. So, especially for those of you that have those gigantic calf muscles, okay? But if you start to develop that anterior tibialis, you're going to allow those big calf muscles of yours to really work. And you're going to save all that pressure off the Achilles tendon, which can cause soreness down around your ankle, which is terrible. So we want to build those anterior tibialis muscles. And how do we do it? A couple different ways, but you got to be lifting the toe up. You have to be dorsiflexion the toe, lifting the toe up. And if you do that, you can do it standing up, or you can do it as I placed a video in the group. I rushed it, so I didn't explain a lot because I wanted people to see it. But if you lift the toe up with weight, if you attach a weight to the bottom of your foot and pull it up, and you pull it up and you work that muscle really hard, 20 reps, 30 reps, 40 reps, add weight, get stronger, that anterior tibialis will become a machine, and it will save your calves, and you will thank me later, I promise you. This is one of the best tips ever. I actually mentioned this a long time ago, but this tip is gold. So just do it. Love you guys.
That's Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr. If you want to see that video he mentioned, well, you'll have to join the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group. You'll find it pinned in the featured section at the top of the page. And if you have any questions for Coach Arnie, he's always happy to help. His contact information is in the show notes. Hey, we hope you'll check out brightangeloutfitters.com for that Rim2Rim apparel and also our Rim2Rim day pack, which we are just about sold out of. Again, that's at brightangeloutfitters.com. We exist to help you hike your best hike. All right, that's it for now. You've got part 2 of our conversation with Buffy Park to look forward to for next time. Until then, I'm Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and enjoy every step in one of the most spectacular places on the planet. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.